Now I got a bunch of videos like that. All sorts of shit like that. Yeah, apparently jail in Spain is like one of the worst places in the world. Like one of the worst places to have to serve time. Well, I think this is a good place as any. To start off. I don't know if these are all repeat stories or what. But we're going to find out. Time.
My name is Stephanie. I got kidnapped when I was 8 years old, and now I'm 18. But
sounds like a good story.
Is, I managed to escape
so quiet.
my captors. They were basically my mom and dad for 10 years, but they treated me like I was dirt. Mom just got drunk and high every night, and my dad
That's like
did
an
the same.
awful fucking story. Man, even assassin rappers got no wholesome in the stories anymore. You just get like a weird Santa story. I was kidnapped. Oh, hell yeah. This is the one I've been waiting for. I don't think we saw this. How's the volume? It's changed. The world is... He's product of the entire world, though. You can't blame him.
My name is Lisa, and I remember growing up, my grandmother used to always tell me stories.
Well, is the
about
grandma talking, or
Banshee,
is Assassin Rapper
which was
talking?
a well-known
Who's talking?
Irish legend. The Banshee is known to keen outside a window if there
I
is
saw
going
that
to
he
be
just
a
posted
death
that,
in the
yes.
family, whether it's near or far. I was arguing one night with my mother, as she wouldn't allow me out to a party. I was furious, as my
He's got
older
quite a
sister
discography,
was
you gotta
allowed
admit.
to go to the party. My mom's reason for not allowing me was because I failed an exam. How lame. I ran to my room and slammed the door and started sulking. My room was ground level, as there was no stairs in our house. I was lying on my bed checking through social media on my phone, sure that I'd be driven mad with my friends' updates of how amazing the party is. Suddenly, I heard something strange coming from the window. I heard a tapping sound, and I got a start.
Yeah, that's a. Is that what the sample said? That's a tapping sound.
Keening, which I remember my grandmother.
Also, what's up with that
telling me
top? It looks weird.
That is exactly what banshees do.
Banshee?
I walked up slowly and cautiously to my window.
Tapping.
Jumped with fright as an
Tapping on my
looking woman stared right
bedroom
at me,
door,
shouting, "Help me, sweet girl! I am very cold, and I was in a
Quoth
car
the
accident."
raven nevermore.
I didn't believe the woman, but I did have a tiny doubt she might be telling the truth. Was I being paranoid over all my grandmother's stories? Then suddenly, I jumped back as the woman banged at the glass and shouted hysterically, "Let me in, you bitch!
I'm being chased!"
Let me in!" I couldn't bear looking at her eyes any longer as I ran into the kitchen and shouted to my mom, "You call the police!" I saw my mom on her phone crying. I asked, did she see the woman? But my mom didn't answer.
It was your grandma. She died.
A few minutes later, my
Oh
mom
my
explained to me
God.
that it was the police were on the phone, breaking the news to her that my sister had been killed in a car crash
Oh,
on
okay,
her way
that's the
to the
sister.
party. Some nights, I think I hear tapping on my window, and sometimes I even wake up in a sweat.
So what?
thinking
How are they
I
connected?
can hear the banshee keening.
What? Meaning? Oh, hell yeah.
Simon always, as long back as he can remember, always wanted to go to the St. Patrick's Day parade, but his drunk father never allowed him. His father used to stay at home all day drinking and getting drunk. Years later, when
Why are there like
was
8 fucking green
and had
hats in their
an
house?
independence to go himself, he made the most of it and wanted to really make
Dad,
an
why do you keep giving me a hat?
Patrick's Day and enjoy
I need
it
to go to
at
school.
all. He designed shamrock hats at the
You're gonna make hats, son.
8, and for some reason they became a must-buy hat, and the shops couldn't have enough for the people that wanted to buy them.
Oh, shit.
They were that popular. It was finally St. Patrick's Day, and he was really looking forward to finally enjoy St. Patrick's Day parade. He walked into the parade.
That's a
and enjoyed
fucking
all
green
the
suit
clothes
for
and was
mocap.
so happy seeing people wear his beloved
Dancing.
shamrock hat.
You're really in the St. Patrick's Day spirit.
After all, he was so happy to be able to come across a witch one day on his travels through a fairy fort. He still didn't believe it until it happened. Then he said the words, "St. Patrick's Day, top of the morning to ya." They could be any words he chose, the witch said. It was all what was done during
Was
the
all?
ritual made it work. He looked around, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did, but finally he could see some man next to him turn green. Then
What?
his child. He smiled, knowing this was all happening. Within minutes, there were more and more people turn green and turn into leprechauns. And within 20 minutes,
Shrekin.
the whole parade was a bloodbath, with leprechauns killing each other by any means necessary. Simon smiled.
It's fucking.
That finally
What
he
the
got payback for all those years.
The
his
hats just
school
go back
friends
into
and
the cauldron.
friends were enjoying St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. The Fairy Fort. I think we've seen this one.
Joshua was an elderly farmer,
Right?
who was living in rural Ireland. He was feeling very isolated on the farm since his only daughter moved to America, where she was working in a
Ooh.
rest home in Texas.
What's that?
One day
Did
he
we
had
see
an
this one?
idea while walking around his
I don't know if we
farm.
did.
He had noticed really nice wood to use to carve walking sticks to make and send to his daughter as a surprise. The only problem was that where the wood was, it was a fairy fort. Legend had it that folktales
I remember this one.
associated with fairy forts typically relate a curse or retribution enacted upon those who would disturb or destroy
The wife is
structures.
the wife. The knife is
As
wiggly
he
and
carved
everything,
the
though.
wood into the
It's the
sticks,
same knife
he
animation
prayed that
every.
nothing would happen him
time.
doing so. After he had about 20 sticks made,
I don't remember
he
this
sent them
part.
over to his daughter as a gift. His daughter Sharon was working in a restaurant.
His daughter's just smoking
but lost her
cigarettes.
job
His
6
daughter
months
went
ago,
to America
but she
to
didn't
smoke
want to tell
cigarettes.
her dad. She had a problem with drugs that was spiraling more and more out of
Okay.
control. She was popping the strongest painkillers.
Oh,
and
I
also
remember that
using
now.
crystal meth. She didn't want to tell her dad how much of a
Damn.
mess her life was in. She sat down in her trailer, worrying about paying back a loan shark $10,000 that she got off him for a loan. She got the loan to pay off a local drug dealer
Just drive the
that
trailer
she
away.
knew didn't mess around. If she hadn't gotten the money, she would have been killed, and if she can't pay back the loan shark, she knew she would be killed also. But she thanked God she was able to get a loan of 10,000 to get the drug dealer off her back at least.
Just drive away,
Belle's
Forehead.
walking sticks arrived, and she felt a pang
Oh no,
of
the
guilt
walking
and pain
sticks.
that he went through all that trouble of carving walking sticks.
Is that like a
for the
magnum of
residents
fucking
the
whiskey on the
restaurant
couch?
She thought she still was working in. She had put the 10,000 in the bank for safekeeping until the drug dealer called for it in a few days, as it was way too dangerous around her neck of the woods to keep that much cash in her trailer. She wrote out
This
a
lady
check
has
and sent it
like
to her
the
dad.
not just
Dad was
resting bitch
delighted
face, but
to
like
cash the
resting
check
dead
for
face.
$10,000. He rang her to thank
She's like
her,
already a
and she
corpse.
froze and then said, "Dad, I am so sorry. That check was meant to have been for $10.
Her
not
eyes are like
10,000."
turning green already.
Then the man that was looking at Joshua
She put on one of those
counting the
hats.
money behind him ran up and hit him in the head and grabbed his wallet. He saw him put all the money in. That night the drug dealer arrived, and Susan told him the story.
Just
The
like,
drug dealer started laughing
wrong
and
button.
said, "Do you think I'm stupid? You just ran out of chances, bitch." Then he shot Susan dead. Joshua found out
I'm
about
learning
her
my new
death
buttons.
a few days later and regretted ever stepping foot inside the fairy
Same
fort,
sound effect.
knowing it was the fairy fort that made everything go wrong.
Everything went wrong. Oh, we definitely saw this one. This one's fucking bizarre. Well, let's just watch it again. How is this Irish?
It was a beautiful summer's day, and me and my friend decided to visit a local castle called Ballet Castle. We walked for miles to see it,
Ballet
and
Castle.
it was all worth it when we saw what such a beautiful castle it was. Me and my friend were walking around the countryside when we discovered a beautiful white horse painted up on the side of a cliff. We
Wait,
didn't
have we
climb
seen
up
this
to
one?
see it up close, as
What's
it
up with the
was
white
pretty
horse
steep,
thing?
and we didn't have the energy to go climbing up anyway.
Isn't that a euphemism
We got
for like a
start
cocaine
when
addiction?
someone suddenly
Riding the
came
white
out
horse?
of the bushes. It was a man
Thank you, Death
holding a
Gibbs.
bucket of white paint. I told him it was a beautiful idea. Oh yes, it looks beautiful maybe, but there's a sad story behind it. I asked him, what was it? And he began to
His
tell us
eyes.
the story about the white horse. Years
Oh, look at the
and years ago,
cows!
there was a beautiful farmer's
I remember
daughter
this, the
who
weird
fell
cows.
deeply in love with a local farmer's son. They used to love being in each
She's,
other's company and wander through the hills.
She's one of those chicks that
holding
wears a top
each other's
hat.
hand. The girl used to ride a white
Yeah, I don't know.
horse that used to shine bright against the sun on a lovely summer's day. The boy and girl knew that what they had together was true love, so she told her father they wanted to get married. Her father lost his temper instantly and shouted in a rage, "No way was she
Lost.
going to marry that boy, and she
Or-
would marry a man of his choice."
Temper.
There was a huge argument
father.
between herself and her father over it, so she ran out crying. And
Imagine getting to
jumped on
live
her horse
in a place
and
where
went
everyone
riding through the
just
woods.
calls their father their
The
farter.
girl was screaming for her life as the white horse
It's a wonderful place.
bolted
Also, beautiful Jen, thank you for that
edge of the
resub. Thank you for that
cliff,
6
with
months.
both daughter and horse falling to their deaths.
Appreciate that
The
support.
white
Thank you very
horse
much.
was painted on the cliff to mark this fateful day.
This
I told the
fateful
man
day.
what a sad story. Suddenly, me and my friend heard a horse behind us galloping, and when we looked back to the man, he was gone.
But he's what? Also, Tragic Johnson 84. Thank you very much, my dude. That prime. Thank you for the prime. Did you know if you have Twitch Prime, you can get a free sub on Twitch? Oh yeah, they're singing.
Ireland is full of ghost stories.
Hell
and
yeah.
One of the most famous
They got a
of them
giant
all is
ghost
the
bat.
story of a ghost who
Northwest
returned
Ireland.
to the living world with the sole intention of righting a wrong. What makes this ghost story so famous and memorable is because James Haddock.
You know why they had a
acknowledged
potato famine? Because this guy
and
kept telling
celebrated
stories instead of paying
by the
attention to his
bishop of the
potatoes.
time, Dr. Jeremy Taylor. This gave the story a very strong foundation to be passed down through the years.
This guy just kept talking all
as
day.
An Irish ghost story. James Haddock was a farmer who lived outside of Belfast. James died in the year 1657, but after his death, his spirit had returned
I'd like to tell you
to
a
the
story.
land of the living to avenge those who
What's up with
did
those
him
potatoes
wrong.
over there?
James Haddock had made a will that those who should inherit
That
his
haunted.
manor house and farm were his wife Arminel, his young son John Haddock was to receive the rest of it once he reached the age of 21. Mr. Davis was the name of the executor of James's will. Davis married James's wife Arminel a few years
I like how he gets this
after
like crazy
James's
Final
death.
Fantasy outfit.
It was then
And the
was
kids
the
are like,
start
that
of the
one kid
reason
looks like
for
just had
James's
some kind of
spirit to start his
like
haunting.
head injury.
As after James's death, Mr. Davis
He just hit his head on the way
James's
out of the
will,
church, and they're like,
where
nah,
he
it's all
put
right.
his
He's
own
okay.
son as the beneficiary instead of John Haddock, who was the rightful heir. Davis would have got his
And the
own
other
way
kid just gets no
only
eyes.
for the haunting
Just
of
two black
James
dots.
Haddock. It started one night during September. James's friend
You don't get
Francis
real
Taylor
eyes until you
was
turn
on
8
his
and go
way home
animation.
to Hillborough. Nothing was out of the ordinary until suddenly his horse stopped on the Drumbridge near Brumbeg. Taverner wondered what was wrong, but didn't think much of it.
When a horse's
So
tail
just
does
got
that,
off
that
his
definitely means
horse
it's about to shit, I
and led
think.
him across the bridge.
That's like a warning
Suddenly,
sign.
he got a start.
Like a warning in
when
nature.
He saw a figure in a
Because they need to get their tail
white
out of the
coat
way,
appear
I would imagine, right?
right
Makes
in
sense.
front of him. Francis couldn't believe his eyes because the white figure in front of him looked exactly like his friend James Haddock, who had passed away 5 years before. Francis was shocked to the core when the ghostly figure begged him to make sure his son was the rightful owner of the land that was due to him. Francis refused and jumped on his horse and raced away like a racehorse. Francis heard a
Like a
very strong
racehorse.
wind and screeches almost like a banshee when all of this was happening. Francis was happy to arrive home, and as soon as he did, he fell down on his knees and prayed to God to protect him from whatever he just saw. The next night, Francis still wasn't
I remember
over the
these
shock
guys.
of seeing his friend's ghost when he suddenly saw him again. As he was sitting by the fire with his wife,
With his
he
wife.
was disappointed his wife could not see the ghost.
How
and
tiny
wondered
his feet
why.
are.
James Haddock begged and pleaded with
Like, their feet
Francis
are so
that
small
he
compared
has
to the rest of
go
their
to his
body.
wife to persuade her to make sure his son gets what is due to him and what is rightfully his. He begged for him to make sure justice was done and to right the wrong. Francis once again refused to offer any help, and due to it, he was visited by James Haddock's ghost every single night for a month.
Yeah, isn't that one of the
Francis
Hobbit
was in a very
clans
bad
in
place
Lord of the
and
Rings, the
knew he
Littlefoots?
had to get away from it all, so he fled to Belfast. But to his horror, the ghost had followed him. He didn't know what to do. The ghost was getting more and more aggressive, and was now demanding Francis go back to Arminal and punish her in the worst way for her terrible treatment of their son.
The proud
John.
feats.
Francis was shocked and scared more than ever, as the ghost warned him that if he didn't do what he was told,
Yeah, I like all the
there
Hobbit
would be
family names
extreme
there.
measures taken. Francis
The Brandywine,
Taverner knew he
the Buckle
had to
Box.
confide in someone, and couldn't think of anyone else to go
The
to
Big
for
Boppers.
help besides
Proud
his
Feet.
local chaplain. Francis explained the whole story from the very first time he saw the ghost on the bridge to the night before. When the chaplain was told not long after he had the whole story, he then went to visit Dr. Lewis Downes, who was the vicar of Belfast at the time. The three men went to see Davis to explain the ghost's message
The
and
fart
demand.
knockers.
Davis laughed at the men as if he was just told a very funny joke. He refused to make any land.
Computer
After
refuses
none of what was
to
done
fucking
so far worked, the ghost of
go
James
along with us
Haddock
any longer.
had told Francis Taverner to take the matter to court. Francis knew that this would be farcical, because 1, they would laugh at the idea of a ghost, and 2, there was no witness. The ghost must have known Francis's worry,
I hate this
as he
story.
said, "Don't
This
worry
is the
about
worst
them not
story. It's been
believing
going on
you,
for so long,
for
too.
I will appear myself in
The other ones were
court.
way better.
When you are the judge or whoever calls upon me, I shall appear." The court was held in Carrickfergus, and it was under the title "The Court Case to Return the Estate to John Haddock." The opposing counsel mocked and jeered the idea and began to call for James's ghost to appear. He started shouting in a mocking tone, "James Haddock! James Haddock! James Haddock!" On the third mention of James's name,
He
he
appeared.
received a ghostly, creepy, out-of-this-world response. Reports circulated that then, in that very moment, there was a huge clap of thunder, and the courtroom shook as if there was an earthquake. And to make matters worse, a hand appeared in the witness box, and a voice from beyond this world asked, "Is this enough?" After that, the court case was settled almost immediately. Davis left the courthouse, where crowds of onlookers shouted abuse at him. He just wanted to go home, but he never did get home. The reason Davis
He
never
never
reached
got home.
is because as he was riding home,
Well, damn, that's
he
pretty
was
sad.
thrown violently from his horse and broke his neck. It was
Bleh.
after this day Francis
Bleh.
Taverner never saw the ghost of James Haddock again. The tale of the ghost and everything that came with it was the talk of the town and reached all corners of Ireland.
There's still 2 more minutes
It
in the
was
story.
then that Bishop Jeremy Taylor put it in writing that the ghost was true. The bishop said that James Haddock's ghost was the only ghost who ever answered a summons in the court of law. James Haddock was buried in Drunbeg Parish Church Courtyard in the 17th century. It is said throughout history that his tombstone will never ever stand up straight. Even when it is moved upright, it just falls over. To this day, it lies in moss and dirt. Is the reason the tombstone doesn't stand upright a message from James? Is he trying to tell us something?
What is he telling us? Blah, da, da. Does it really do another song? Ba ba ba. I found this weird channel that has like documentaries. It's a British channel. I don't know if this is like from an actual TV station. It must be, yeah.
Where there, yeah.
It's like a haunted house or something.
That's what I want to see.
If it's an actual TV show, I don't think I should probably watch it.
So we're gonna follow you.
Came up in the ranks. I think I may have seen this once before. The hell that was. I just wanted to check what it was. This isn't scary, but I kind of want to watch this video about blue things.
There are no blue tigers, no
Blue shit in nature.
no blue squirrels,
I don't know why.
dogs, even blue whales.
I don't wanna
aren't
watch it.
that Blue. Animals come in pretty much every
I wanna watch
color,
it.
but blue seems to be the rarest. What's cool though is when we do find a blue animal, they're awesome looking. Nature doesn't
Blue.
end halfway with blue. To understand why this
Who's
is,
Dave?
we're gonna journey through evolution, chemistry, and some very cool physics. But first, we're gonna need
Here's
to
a story
understand
about
why
blue shit.
Animals are any color at all. And to do that, we need to go look at some butterflies. Because butterflies are awesome, and if you don't think so, you're wrong. This is Bob Robbins. He's curator of Lepidoptera at the National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C.
Isn't that the
Butterflies are
Ben and Jerry's guy
awesome.
kind of? He
Make
looks like
no
him.
mistake about it. They're a group of moths that evolved to be active during the day. And if you're active during the day, that means that you have an advantage. You can use light to communicate.
You probably realize this, but out of all insects,
Do you know there's a
butterflies
conspiracy to get
display
us to
the
eat bugs
brightest,
now?
most detailed patterns. And there's a good
They want
reason
us
for
to eat
that.
bugs.
The colors in butterfly wings deliver messages like, I'm toxic, or I'm a male and this is my territory. But not all butterfly colors are created equal. If we zoom way in on
Bugs
a
are
butterfly
tasty.
wing, we see the colors
There we go,
come
too.
from tiny scales. It's actually how moths and butterflies get their scientific name. Oranges, reds, yellows, browns, those scales all contain pigments. Organic
That looks like the
molecules
All
absorb
That
every color
logo.
except what we
Whatever
see.
that was.
Black scales absorb all colors. Animals from butterflies to birds to you and me don't make these pigments from scratch. They're made from ingredients in our diet. You might know this thanks to flamingos. They're born gray but turn pink thanks to pigments called carotenoids in crustaceans they eat. So when it comes to these colors, you are what you eat, but not so for blue. Blue is different.
If you move the camera, if you can see that the color changes as you move the camera.
It does. It's like a hologram thing.
Yeah. And this is because there's no blue pigment in these butterflies.
Wait, so they're blue, but they're not really blue.
That's correct. Yes.
You're lying to me, butterflies.
These are blue morpho butterflies, maybe the prettiest.
Oh, that's
butterflies
like
of
character
all.
from Venture
They
Brothers.
Did make it the butterfly.
The blue morpho.
The blue color isn't from a pigment. The blue comes from the shape of the wing scale itself. And when I learned how this works, it kind of blew my mind. If we zoom way in on a blue wing scale,
Oh, it's
we
like all
see these little
scales?
ridges. If we slice across the scale and look closer, we see those ridges are shaped like tiny Christmas trees. The arrangement of branches is what gives morpho wings their blue color. When light comes in, some bounces off the
Is that
top
where they got
surface,
the
and some
design
light
for
passes
cars?
into the layer and reflects off
Is
the
that in there?
bottom surface. For most colors of light, waves reflecting from the top and bottom will be out of phase. They'll be canceled out, and that light is removed. But blue light has just the right wavelength. The reflected light waves are in sync, and that color makes it to our eye. This hall of mirrors only lets blue light escape. There's even a pigment at the base that absorbs stray red and green light to make the blue even more pure. That's how we get this awesome iridescent blue, the microscopic structure of the wing itself. All of this happens because of the way light bends when it moves from air into another material. So if we fill all those tiny gaps with something other than air, like alcohol, the blue disappears. Technically, this changes the index of refraction, but in plain English, that means blue light is no longer bent the right way.
It's all like
the
rose colored
microscopic
now.
light filter is broken until the alcohol evaporates and the color returns. But these butterflies live in the rainforest. You'd think they'd lose their color anytime they got wet, right? Well,
Wrong.
watch this. These wing scales are made of a material that's naturally water resistant. They stay blue
Rolls
in
right
any
off.
weather. So what about this blue jay feather? If we look through it, the color completely disappears. No blue pigment. Each feather bristle contains light scattering microscopic beads, spaced so everything but blue light is canceled out. Unlike the highly ordered structures we find in butterfly wings, these feather structures are more messy, like a foam. So instead of changing as we move, the
They're
color's
made of
more even
phloem.
from every direction. Peacock tail
Amazing.
feathers, again, it's the shape of the feather, not pigment. But the light reflecting structures here are more ordered, like a crystal, so it's brighter from certain angles. There's even a monkey. Whoa. Let's keep this PG.
Yeah, you better be
Even
careful of that
color
monkey's
is made
dick,
by the
dude.
adding and subtracting of light waves thanks to structures in the
It's someone's
skin.
NFT.
And yes, even your blue
Can't
eyes
show
are
that.
colored by structures, not pigments. Outside of the ocean, almost exclusively, the bluest living things make their colors with microscopic structures, and each one's a little different. No vertebrate, not a single bird or mammal or reptile that we know of, makes a blue pigment on its body. In fact, there's only one known butterfly that's cracked the code for making a true blue pigment.
Blue as a pigment in nature is incredibly rare.
I love that this
but
guy is a
there's
butterfly
one exception
scientist.
so far that we know about. And these are over here called the olive wings. They have evolved a blue pigment.
it's pretty
and they're
simple.
not very common, and we don't know very much about them, and I don't know of any other blue pigments.
That's a really special butterfly. But why is almost all of nature's blue made from structures and not pigments, like everything else? I've asked this question to several scientists that study color, and here's their best theory so far. At some point way back in time, birds and
Yeah, there's a lot of
butterflies
fucking
evolved
bugs.
the ability to see blue light, but they hadn't yet evolved a way to
You think
paint
he
their bodies
eats
that
them
color.
ever?
If they could, it'd be like going from early beetles to Sergeant Pepper's beetles. It meant new opportunities for communicating and survival. Creating some blue pigment out of the blue would have required inventing new chemistry, and there was no way to just add that recipe to their genes. It was much easier for evolution to change the shape of their bodies ever so slightly at the microscopic level and create blue using physics instead. They solved a biology problem with engineering. What I love about this is that these colors have fascinated curious people for hundreds of years. After looking at peacock feathers through one of the first microscopes back in the 1600s, Robert Hooke wrote, "These colors are onely fantastical ones." Even Isaac Newton noticed there was something unusual about these blues, and scientists have been studying them ever since, not only because the science is interesting, but because it's beautiful. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.
Okay.
All right. So you think you have a worse joke than me?
Oh, without
Stay
any
curious.
question. I've been doing this a long time.
Okay.
So there was
I
a
like this
dance,
channel.
and the butterfly wasn't there. How come?
There was a dance, but the butterfly wasn't there.
Yeah, it was a mothball.
Got him.
Told you.
Okay, he wins. That was bad.
Yeah, like all those cases are all butterflies and stuff. There's so many. Someone bet so much on no. Well, guess what? You were fucking wrong. I know that man. He's actually my uncle. Correct answer is yes.
If you interest of the same page.
Who won all the points? Terminally chill. Dude, you won them all. Who the fuck was betting all the points, man? I guess you can't really do anything with them. I did make a new one, a new point reward where you can request an impression of anyone. And yeah, that's what you can do now. I've learned some things. Learned some things. Sometimes this video comes up and I just want this hamburger. Like nothing wants me to eat a hamburger more than seeing a small child who can't eat more than a few bites of a hamburger. What a fucking waste. It's a man? What? It's a dude? Is there some story behind that I don't know about? Is there some guy? What? All right, here we go. Yeah, we're going back to the past when Slapped Ham had an introduction. I think people should bring back YouTube introductions. Just make them like long as fuck.
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're looking at some really creepy footage. From the last known sightings of people that mysteriously disappeared to inexplicable road accidents and ghost sightings. Join us as we count 11
Do they have you in a
mysterious
jail
videos
right now?
that
Where are
can't
you?
be explained.
On the 30th of June 2014, 28-year-old Lars Matank and a group of friends went on a holiday to the seaside resort of Golden Sands in Bulgaria. During his stay, Matank got into a fight with a group of rival football fans and suffered a ruptured eardrum. He was then advised by a local doctor not to fly until his ear had fully healed and was unable to return home with his friends. Alone,
You know what?
Matank checked
It immediately reminds me of every time I see a picture like this now. Can anyone guess? Come on, someone's. Your first thought has to be exactly what I'm thinking. With the recreated like beards and stuff.
had fully healed and was unable to return home with his friends. Alone,
Nah, just the Nathan for you fucking portrait guy.
Night, he began to act very strangely. He sent a text
The guy
to his
who's-
mother telling her that he didn't
It's
feel
like,
safe.
I think
and
that
she
might
should
be
cancel
one of
his
the
credit
funniest
card.
things about
He
Nathan
also
for you.
told her that he was hiding
Is
from
the guy
four
that
men who
draws
were
the
following
portraits,
him. Apparently,
the
he ran for his
aging
safety.
portraits,
Matank
like he
then
ages
headed to
people
Varna
up.
Airport where the
Oh my
security camera
God.
captured him entering.
It's so fucking bad.
A few minutes later,
It's like my
Matank
favorite
can be
part of
seen
that entire
running from
show.
the airport and into the
He brings
parking
them
lot.
on like several times.
He was then seen climbing a fence and running through a meadow and into the nearby
Yeah, I've heard this
woods.
story 100
Matank
times
was
now, and I
never
really
seen
think he
again,
got
and it was never discovered
killed
who
by
or
like some
what he
kind
was
of
running
gang.
from at Varna
Organized
Airport.
crime,
To this
like
day,
fucking
Matank's disappearance remains a mystery.
got this guy.
This footage began surfacing around the middle of 2016. It shows
Show
women
it. I
browsing
don't know how
items
much
in
of
a
I can
shopping
show
mall.
of Nathan for
When
you
an
on
item mysteriously
stream. I
falls
don't want to get a
behind her, she
DMCA.
turns and replaces it on the shelf.
Because not only is that audio, it's visual too. I don't know. I can show a little bit of it probably. I probably could. I just don't like to take
As
the
soon
chance.
as she replaces
sometimes.
the item, she begins to act very strangely, almost as though an unseen force takes control of her body. She drops her shopping and begins to writhe uncontrollably. After falling to the floor, two
Yeah, I
other
think
shoppers
he
notice the
got
woman. As one comes
involved
to her
with the
aid,
wrong
woman
people,
lets out
probably.
a guttural scream. By
Was this the
time,
woman who
commotion has
disappeared?
attracted several other shoppers. She lets out yet another scream, this one more intense than the first. The screams seem to have the power to push the onlookers back. As the man in black
No,
attempts to
it
restrain
didn't
her, the
push
other
them back.
onlookers
They were
gather closer.
surprised. It's
The
someone
woman
having like an
begins calming
episode.
down, but then suddenly she lets out one final almighty yell.
You cannot attribute that to like
Forced to
psychic
move
power.
objects
I'm
in the
sorry, that's
store, as well as
ridiculous.
cause the security camera to flicker. The other customers then help the woman to her feet and escort her away.
That's such a dumb fucking way to go with that, I think.
This mysterious footage was recorded in 2003 from the CCTV of an unknown hotel. A member of the hotel staff is sent to investigate screams coming from room 209, which was thought to be empty at the time. As the man approaches the door, the screaming can be heard over the footage.
I think I've seen this before too. Hotel hallways are fucking weird.
The voice of another
Weird
member of
liminal
staff can be
space
heard advising
places,
the man to
hotel
wait before
hallways.
entering the room, as the police have been notified and are on their way. However, the man decides to enter the room anyway.
Hotels usually have cameras in the hallways.
Shortly
That's
after
helped
he
solve
enters,
many
some sort of
crimes,
ghostly
actually.
figure can be seen escaping down the hallway before the hotel lights begin to flicker. When the man exits the room, he appears startled. He says there was no one in the room, however all the furniture was turned upside down, the carpet was ripped up and the shower was running. The video abruptly ends without an explanation on what was happening in room 209. Was it a ghost or just a prank?
Wasn't it just his
If it was a
audio though
prank, then
when he
how
was
do you
talking on the
explain
phone?
Ghostly figure seen leaving the room. On the 14th of October 2009, two
The
witnesses claimed
real
to have seen
Men
a
in
large
Black.
triangular-shaped object hovering above a hotel they were staying in at the time. The pair reported the strange occurrence to the authorities, and a short time later, two mysterious men dressed in black suits visited the
I've seen
hotel
this so many
looking for the
times.
witnesses.
I love this fucking
This
dumb
footage
clip.
from the lobby security camera of the
It's
hotel
like two
shows
dudes
the
in
men
like
walking
fucking
into the
zoot
building.
suits, like
The
fucking
men asked to speak
cosplaying.
to the guests that had witnessed
Zoot
the
Suit
event, but
Riot
told
was
by
a
staff that
single in
they
the
were no longer
90s. They
there.
were just
The
cosplaying.
staff members that spoke to the men said that they were
Going
very
like a
pale
bottle
and
of
had
beer.
no eyebrows or eyelashes, and that they looked completely identical.
Does anyone remember
One
that
female
fucking
staff
song by
member
the
even said
Cherry
that they looked
Poppin'
as though both
Daddies?
men's hair was
Zoot
fake,
Suit
as if they
Riot?
were wearing wigs to
What a
cover the fact that
surreal
they were
fucking
bald. The staff member
moment of
also
time.
claimed that both men had very large, deep blue eyes, and that the entire time they spoke, they never blinked once.
Of course you would love
If
that
you look
song.
closely at the footage of the two men entering the hotel, you can see the man on the left appears to be having trouble keeping his feet straight as he walks. Did the guests witness some kind of alien spacecraft?
Do you think
above their
zoot
hotel?
suits will ever go
And were
back in
these the
style?
mysterious men in black that have been reported to appear after many
I think Jim
UFO
Carrey
sightings?
single-handedly killed it
If
in The
so,
Mask.
were they top-level government agents sent to assess the case,
Heavily
or could they
featured
have been
zoo
aliens
suits.
looking to erase any knowledge of their existence? On the 31st of January 2013, 21-year-old Eliza Lamb disappeared while staying
thinking
at
about
a
how
Cecil hotel in downtown LA.
No one knew about this mystery
Lamb, a student at the University of British Columbia
not too
in
long ago. Now
Vancouver,
it's like one of the
was
more
traveling at the time of her
well-known like
disappearance, and the
unsolved
alarm was
mysteries. It
raised
seems
after
like I
she
think there's like an
failed to
entire
contact her
Netflix
parents
documentary
the
about
day she
Lisa
was
Lamb now.
scheduled to check out of the hotel. When the police failed to locate Lamb, they decided to release the video footage of an elevator.
This is the
security
girl
camera
who
in
was in the
hotel
water
in an
tank
effort
on
to
top of the
collect more
Cecil Hotel.
information. In the
This is
footage,
like one of the
Lamb can be
original
seen
stories that
moving
got me
very
into like
strangely, as if she's hiding
top
from
5
someone
fucking
or
dumb
something.
videos online. Because the footage is pretty spooky, but it's definitely her having like an episode.
She can be seen entering the elevator calmly before pressing several of the buttons on the panel. She then stands
Yeah, the
back
Cecil
and
Hotel
seems to
was
wait
like,
for the doors to
well, it's
close.
on Skid Row, first of all. That's one of the problems with the Cecil Hotel. Is
Suddenly,
people
she
rent
lunges
rooms
forward
there
and looks down the
from out of
hallway
town.
before
This is in
standing up
downtown
against the
LA.
wall.
People rent a room there and they're like, oh yeah, cool, the Cecil Hotel in LA, it's cheap, yay. And they go there and it's Skid Row,
She
which
then
is
exits the elevator
very
before
bad
returning,
place to
pressing
be in
more
LA.
buttons on the panel.
So, you know, it could be a lot of stuff. They changed the name of it too, yeah.
She exits the elevator one final time and can be seen communicating with something before wandering off down the hallway.
There was some other documentary we saw about this, detailing some people's trip to this hotel.
When the footage was
I don't know if it
released
was
publicly, it went viral.
maybe it was the
In
documentary
the
on
first 10
Netflix.
days, it
I
received
don't
more
know.
than 3 million views and 40,000 comments on the Chinese video sharing site Youko. Many of the viewers said they found the footage unsettling and difficult to watch. Shortly after her disappearance, hotel guests began complaining of black, strange-tasting water
That's
and
a
low
fucking
water pressure.
nasty picture. It looks
When the
like
maintenance staff
fucking
went to investigate, they
dehydrated
discovered
piss.
the body of Eliza Lamb floating inside one of the water tanks. Despite a thorough police investigation, several inconsistencies of Lamb's disappearance has never been answered. The autopsy report deemed her death to be accidental. However, the police noted that the 8-foot-high tanks, which
Well, that's
were
not what it
located
looked
on the
like,
roof of the
though.
hotel, were only accessible with a key and almost impossible to enter without
Which
a
is like a
ladder.
stock picture.
Many theories have attempted to explain Lamb's disappearance, from murder to the
I think her being in the water tank
Her death
is...
has even been noted for its eerie similarities to the 2005
I think it could have been a
horror film
murder.
Dark
Or it
Water.
could have been someone trying to
In the
cover up
film,
the
a
body.
mother and
You know what I
daughter move
mean?
into a rundown apartment building with a dysfunctional elevator. Discolored water eventually leads them to the water
I think
tank
it's like
on
a
the roof,
two-part
where they
mystery. I
discover
don't
the
think...
body of a girl who's been reported missing
I don't
a
think she
year
did it
earlier.
herself.
To this day, the fate of Eliza Lamb remains a mystery.
I don't think she could have got in there herself. They pretty much prove it. There's no way.
This video was taken on a road in Qingtai, China. As the two white vans approach the
But I think she could have been
intersection,
having an
something
episode,
very strange
too.
happens. Suddenly, the two vans lift into the air.
Doesn't
and
have
get
to be,
pushed
like,
backwards, almost as though a very
what?
strong gust of wind picks them up and shakes them out. What could have
What are they
happened
making
to
these
the
cars
vans?
out of?
What sort of strange force has the power to lift two vans into the air with such ease?
That looks like miniatures almost. That doesn't look right. The way they kind of like floated like that.
This footage was taken from a dash cam somewhere in Russia. As the traffic is driving along, the semi-trailer suddenly begins to swerve, nearly colliding
There's a steel
with
cable.
oncoming
No
traffic.
shit. Was that
At
on
first, it's difficult
Disillusion?
to see why the truck swerves, but then the answer becomes apparent.
Captain
A man wearing what looks to
Disillusion
be
do
a
that?
lab coat seems to appear out of nowhere.
We haven't
Several
watched Captain
theories have
Disillusion in a
attempted to
while.
explain this bizarre event. It's been suggested that the man could be a
It's been suggested. Let's break away to that real quick. This new keyboard is so nice. I'm really, really enjoying typing on it. Trying to find like excuses to be typing. What's the name of the... Which video am I... Is it a quick one? Ow. Thing on my fucking foot for like... Which video is it? We sure it was the Captain Disillusion video? It's not just the mechanical part, it's the fucking keys, man. They feel so soft. I like it. I don't know. It's like the action on the buttons. It just feels great. Does anyone have a lead on this? I just put Captain Disillusion steel wire. What else should I try? It's a Glorious Master, whatever the fuck, GMMK, with Aura V2 keycaps on it with Glorious Panda switches. The Glorious Panda switches are what's making it feel like that. Maybe it wasn't Disillusion. Let's well, there's got to be a detail in that video. Hold on a second. 11 mysterious videos that nature. Oh, it's in China. China Vans Wire. Okay, there's an insider video. The cars appeared to start levitating at an intersection in China. Tire fell off. It made no sense. Here's to know what happened here. What the fuck happened here? Steel cable caught in a passing street cleaning machine. What? Oh, so it's right here. The tangled cable ran across the intersection. Like, where was it being pulled from, though? How did no one get, like, cut in half? When the cars drove into it, they got caught up. Oh, okay. Jesus Christ. That's why the tire fell off? You can't even get like a full screen GIF. We have to get a little picture frame of it. That's pretty crazy. I still don't, that doesn't really make sense completely still, but
Footage was taken from a dash cam somewhere in Russia.
whatever.
As the traffic is driving along, the semi-trailer
Some
suddenly
sort of
begins to
explanation.
swerve, nearly colliding with oncoming traffic.
Maybe it did kill
At first,
pedestrians. They
it's
just didn't show
difficult to
that.
see why the
Like cut
truck
people in
swerved,
half like
but then
Ghost
the
Ship.
answer becomes apparent.
Never seen the introduction to Ghost Ship?
A man wearing what looks
It's the most badass introduction to the worst movie
to be a
ever.
lab coat seems to appear out of
Liam
nowhere.
Neeson's in it.
Several theories have attempted to explain this bizarre event. It's been suggested that the man could be a scientist from the future.
The movie that
who
I put on,
miscalculated
just
a
fall
time
asleep
travel
like 10 minutes in
teleportation.
immediately. I mean, every
If you
time.
look closely, however, you can actually see the man crossing the road in front of the truck. What is difficult to explain, however, is the relaxed and almost robotic reaction the man has after his near-fatal miss.
Isn't it
He
just
simply
someone
turns,
fucking
puts his
being
hands in his lab coat pockets and calmly walks off down
possibly
the road.
suicidal?
Why was this man attempting to cross the road in the first place? There seems to be nothing but empty fields on the other side. What do you think is happening in this video? We'd love to get your opinion. Let us know in the comments
That looks like
section
pretty
below.
much like they threw themselves in front of a car. I don't know.
This mysterious video was posted in 2014 by a man known only as Ted, who claims to have been a police officer since 1983. After responding to a domestic disturbance in Delray,
Cable was hooked
Detroit,
to something on the
Ted
opposite
says he
side of the
heard some
street,
strange
which
noises
crossed
coming
over the
from a
opposite
neighbouring
lanes of
house,
traffic. Huh?
so he decided to take a closer look. As he approaches the house, which appears to be burnt out and abandoned, the officer pans the camera
Yeah, I
towards
think
an
I
old
remember renting it
newspaper
from
clipping
Blockbuster.
before calling out to see if anyone's inside.
Oh, I've seen this one before. This is so dumb. Real
Suddenly,
noises.
a ghoulish face appears in the upstairs window
Hello?
before disappearing into the darkness.
It's like fairy. It's a fucking sound blaster fairy filter. Like, I've heard that before. Heard that same
It's later
fucking
revealed in
filter.
the video that the article that the police
Used to use it
officer
in
found
Rust.
was about a woman named Rose Verez, who was known as the Witch of Delray. Verez was thought to have murdered up to 12 men in the 1930s. However, her neighbours were too scared to testify against her because they believed she had supernatural powers that could make their children sick. Could
This,
the
like,
ghostly face that the police
fabric
officer saw
hairnet
in the
thing
window
was-
of this burnt
what a
out old
bad
house
time
be
for
that of
women.
The infamous Delray Witch.
Like, Jesus Christ.
In 2015, a CCTV camera in a Taiwanese alleyway captured this unnerving and creepy footage. As the heavy rain pours down, a man can be seen walking down the alleyway towards his parked motorbike.
I like this alleyway.
Just as the man reaches his bike, a young girl in a red dress mysteriously appears alongside
No,
the
just
parked
the
van
hairnet.
at the opposite end of the alleyway.
But
as the footage continues, a
everything
motorbike
else
can
was
be
sick.
seen riding past in the background. If you take a closer look as the bike passes, however, you can see the wheels of the bike through the little girl's head. What makes this video even creepier is the fact that in Taiwan there's an urban legend known as the Girl in Red. A ghost of a young girl dressed in a red dress that stalks and
Promo
haunts her
picture for
victims.
Ghost Girl. Have you ever wanted a daughter? Can you not conceive children? Well, you can have your own
This
demon
video was
child
filmed
follow
in a
you.
hospital in Guadalajara, Mexico. It shows an orderly laughing.
Imagine if people, dude, I could actually,
Suddenly
that's, dude, no one steal that idea. I should fucking pitch that to Blumhouse. Little family can't conceive child. So they approach a experimental adoption agency that assigns them a ghost girl. Fucking brilliant, man.
a mysterious dark figure walks by the window.
And you get to pick what period they came from.
To investigate, the two open the door and head into what appears to be an operating theatre. Suddenly, a table begins to move for no apparent reason.
But then it just goes wrong every time.
The startled pair quickly leave the room, and as they do, the camera holder does a full 360-degree sweep of the room. There's no one else in the room and no other door that the mysterious figure could have entered or exited from. What was this shadowy figure? Could it have been the ghost of someone that passed away in this very operating room?
In this very operating room. Speaking of weird ghosts, this is not actually it. That has nothing to do with ghosts, what I'm about to show you. It has to do with doctors, though. So now that people are doing court through, like, video conferences and stuff like that, this fucking guy tries to call into court.
Hello?
From a fucking operating room.
The surgeon making headlines because he...
They're like, we need to do this trial. And he's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm just doing surgery. They're like, okay.
And I'm seeing a defendant that's in the middle of an operating room, appearing to be actively engaged in providing service to the patient. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
Imagine that's your doctor.
The judge is...
You're about to get some major fucking operation. Your doctor's like, hold on, I gotta go to court real quick. It's just like, oh my God. Has to be a plastic surgeon.
Reluctant to proceed out of concern for the patient.
I have another surgeon right here who's doing the surgery with me, so I can stand here and allow them to do the surgery also.
Not at all. I don't think so. I don't think that's appropriate.
The judge decides to reschedule.
Oh my fucking God. Of course the doctor is like, gets a fucking second chance. Can we reschedule actually? You kidding me?
Witnessed by thousands of people, and footage of the mysterious city in the clouds even made the Chinese news.
This is a Doctor or Captain Disillusion one. I always want to say Doctor Disillusion. That should also be a character.
Secret NASA-funded project known as Project Bluebeam. Technology that can reportedly project large-scale holograms into the clouds.
Yeah, the floating cities. He did a few of these. They keep trying to do this shit.
Reality that opened for just long enough to allow stunned onlookers to get a glimpse of another world. It wasn't the first time a city in the clouds has been spotted either. In 2011, this footage was taken in Huangshan City in China's Anhui province. What do you think these mysterious cities could be?
Oh yeah, a floating
Are
city
they
would
an
be
optical
sick.
illusion, government testing,
Could
or
probably
a
happen
gateway
someday.
to another world? Let us know in the comment section below.
Maybe it already is happening.
Well, that's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching.
Well, that's the end. Yo, mysterious shapeshifters. Oh, that reminds me, we got to watch the rest of Monolith what do you call it? Monolith thing. First, though, have you seen this?
It just disappears.
It goes bye-bye.
Oh my god, that's so low.
Dude, is it not? He's gone.
Oh my.
Where'd he go? Where'd the Pope go? What's up with that guy?
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. From human reptilian hybrids to alien bodyguards caught shape-shifting in...
Alien
To show a reporter's
bodyguards?
face melting on live TV.
It's a fucking encoding.
The reporter was covering a story about a drunk off-duty police officer who began beating staff of a restaurant after they refused to serve him more alcohol. Everything seems normal right up until the end of the video when the reporter begins to fumble his words. As he does, something strange starts happening to his face.
Oh
Many
my
people
god.
believe that this
Come
footage proves that
on.
there are indeed shapeshifters living among us.
Oh my
Mysterious
god.
beings, possibly even aliens, that have the
That
ability
is so
to disguise
bad.
themselves as humans.
It's the fucking quality and the
Suggests that
encoding.
these shapeshifters are actually descendants of reptilian beings from the Alpha Draconis star system.
Oh my
The
god.
theory, which is mainly credited to former BBC television sports broadcaster and conspiracy theorist David Icke, suggests that these creatures are a result of human-reptilian breeding programs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this guy is just like
taking place on Earth
crazy
for at
and
least
also very
200,000
questionable.
years. Many
Yo,
believe Icke's
Thanamir.
theories to be true. He has
Thank you for that
supporters in
4
nearly
months.
50 countries and often lectures
Appreciate
to large
that.
crowds. In fact, a 2013 poll of
Hope you're doing
Americans
well.
conducted
This
by
guy,
Public
David Icke, is
Policy
the guy who got
indicated
Alex
that
Jones
4% of all
doing the
registered
Lizard Man
voters
thing
actually
originally.
believed in David
If that
Icke's
fucking tells you
ideas.
anything.
He also claims that these human reptilian
About,
hybrids often
who he
obtain positions
kind of
power
is.
in human society and then use their power to secretly manipulate global events. They supposedly do this to keep humans
Like, they
in a
used to, like,
state of
feature this dude on
fear.
InfoWars, pretty
The
sure, like,
hybrids
back in the
then feed
day.
off the negative energy that is
Until,
created.
like, he was like, oh, wait, people are not going
The
to take it
reason that these
seriously.
beings are thought to be unrecognizable is that they
It's literally
possess
the plot of,
ability
like,
to
several
shapeshift
different
into
sci-fi
human
movies.
form. Occasionally, this camouflage capability malfunctions, allowing us to see them in their true form.
I like the concept of lizard men, but I don't like that it's like
Possibly the most well-known figure
they
thought to be
control
a human
all
reptilian
of our
hybrid is
fucking
the
world,
Queen of
man.
England.
Everything.
In fact, Icke has suggested that the entire royal family could be hybrids. This video is believed by many to show evidence that the Queen is indeed reptilian. If you zoom in on her left eye, you can see that it looks very strange indeed.
Oh my
While
god.
the official explanation was that her eye was bloodshot, believers insist that this was actually her camouflage malfunctioning.
Her camouflage malfunctioning in her
Reptilian
eye.
Shapeshifters are not only said to disguise
What?
themselves as world leaders, but many celebrities are also thought to be hybrids.
How does she have 3 hands?
This video, uploaded to Marino Delfino's YouTube channel in 2015, shows an excerpt from a Katy Perry interview. While everything seems normal
Dude,
at first,
it's
if you slow down
clearly
footage,
the
you can
video.
actually see that for a brief second her pupils appear to resemble those of a lizard. While several skeptics have noted that it may be little more than a special effect, the video still evokes an uneasy feeling. What do you think? Could it actually prove that reptilian
Oh my
shapeshifters are
God.
infiltrating human society, or is it just a simple hoax? Love to get your thoughts on this one in the comments section below.
No.
In September 2018, this very strange video was uploaded to Pagoda Dream TV4's YouTube channel. While waiting in a cinema for a film to begin, an audience member begins recording a couple arguing a few rows in front of them. The woman grows increasingly distressed and stands up from her seat. Her boyfriend too stands up, and as he does, the woman appears to
What the
take
fuck
on
is up with
his
this
form.
video?
The shapeshifter then touches the man who
It's like a
immediately
secret camera? Is this like a
faints.
bootleg
The shapeshifter lowers him to the
being
floor
filmed
before
instead?
grabbing a bag and heading for the exit. The man, who now appears to have totally white eyes, lies motionless in the aisle as the remaining moviegoers rush for the doors. A short time later,
Like a
an usher
TikTok.
attempts to wake the man. He immediately stands up and runs for the door. The camera person follows and manages to catch the man running from the theater and
Like,
down
those
the
are all
hallway.
post effects.
Strangely, if you slow the footage down, at the 27-second mark, you can actually see another woman walking up the steps of the theatre past the arguing couple, who appears to look identical to the woman fighting with her boyfriend. Is it possible that this video actually shows a real shapeshifter stealing
It's
the
like
identity
someone's
of another
like
person?
project,
If
clearly.
so, could it also be possible that the shapeshifter stole the identity of the woman seen walking up the aisle as well? Without further information, it's difficult
Yeah, it's like
to
a
know
short
for
film. That's the worst, when you know that a lot of times it's a short film that was not made for someone to
This
like
video, uploaded
be
to
like
AKA Metaphysics
present
YouTube
as a
channel in
like found
2016,
footage or whatever.
again shows what
It's
many
supposed to
people
just be
believe to
like,
a
oh,
slip
this
in
is
the camouflage of a
you know,
reptilian
it's a short film
shapeshifter.
for fun.
This time it's
Then
pop
people
princess
always
Britney
try to take
Spears,
it and
who
like
appears
twist
to
it
be
like
having
that.
trouble maintaining her disguise. Similar to the clip of Katy Perry, there's a split second where Spears' pupils look like those of a lizard. While the change is
Does
difficult
someone
to
actually
notice at
like spend their
first, once the
time
footage
looking
is
at
slowed
people's
down,
eyes
it
like that
becomes
though on
obvious.
like clips?
Could Britney Spears really
Like
be a
someone just
human
needs to
reptilian
explain
hybrid
like
descended from
how
aliens from the Alpha
fucking
Draconis star system? We'll leave
recording
it up to
video
you to
works.
decide on this one.
Who the fuck is Captain Disillusion on that? I'm pretty sure he's actually done some of the lizard men debunking thing before.
Arrested a goat on suspicion of attempted armed robbery. The goat was captured by vigilantes who were chasing two men that had attempted to steal a Mazda 323. They claimed that one of the men escaped while the other used black magic to transform into a goat. After the goat was taken into police custody, a statement was issued in which the spokesperson said, "One of them escaped while the other turned into a goat. We can't confirm the theory, but the goat is in our custody.
What?
We can't base our information on something mystical. It's something that has to be proved scientifically that a human being turned into a goat."
Yeah.
Belief in witchcraft is widespread in many African countries, including Nigeria, where it's thought that magicians possess the power to turn themselves into certain animals. What do you think? Was this the work of a magical shapeshifter, or was it simply a case of mistaken identity?
Sucks to be the goat.
This bizarre footage was taken from an episode of Border Patrol. A man is
Another
stopped by security
reptilian.
at the Canadian border, and just as he's told that he can't enter Vancouver because
Why would
he
a
has prior
reptilian try to go to
criminal
Canada?
conviction, his eyes mysteriously start to change.
Like, why would that be a problem? They would just be able to go.
He's
It'd be
refused
easy.
entry. Then, almost as if the stress and tension of the situation is too much, they change. Again, his eyes look very similar to those of a reptile. The man covers his face with his hands, seemingly out of frustration. However, when he removes them, his eyes are normal once more.
It's always the eyes,
Some
too.
viewers have suggested that he covered his face in an attempt to hide his unwanted transformation. Some also think that the real reason that he was refused entry into Canada was that the government already was aware of his true identity.
Blade Runner machine
Caused the
for
man's eyes to suddenly change.
detecting lizard
Is it a
eyes.
little more than a camera malfunction, or could it actually be cause for alarm? This footage was captured at the 2012 US-Israel Policy Conference. As president for the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, Lee Rosenberg introduces US President Barack Obama, he appears to start shapeshifting. Rosenberg's face suddenly looks sunken and gaunt, and his nose grows long and pointy. He then smiles, revealing sharp, pointy teeth.
It's like the TV this time.
Circulating that Rosenberg might actually be a shape-shifting vampire, and that for a brief moment the camera had actually managed to capture him in his true form. There is certainly no denying that this footage is very strange. Even if the apparent transformation of Rosenberg's face was caused by a camera malfunction or changes in lighting, it's difficult to explain why he clearly appears to have pointy teeth. Before we get to that number one spot and take a look at some footage of former President Barack Obama's bodyguards shape-shifting, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be completely up to date with all our latest content. Bizarrely, Lee Rosenberg's mysterious shape-shifting wasn't the strangest thing.
But like, if you take a picture of someone and put it in like a
Israel policy conference. As US
a
President
monitor
Barack
and then take a
Obama
picture
gives
of
a
it with
speech,
another
two men can
device,
be
like it
seen
looks
standing
fucking
in the
weird.
aisles. The men are likely part of the US Secret Service or Israeli security, and both look normal as the camera watches them from front on. However, sometime later, another camera catches a shot.
It's just like the camera being bad quality. These ones are so bad. It's just a blurry picture. It's like 2p. It's always alien bodyguards, too. Like, if they're going to bring aliens here, why would they just be bodyguards? That's it? They just guard other people? That doesn't make any sense. Because no one can beat them? Well, pretty sure. When it comes down to it, the bodyguards don't always work out. Or maybe they're not that good at it. I don't know. It just seems like a roundabout way of getting things done. I'm just scrolling down the Rex.
Two massive.
I think there's like another Christmas Dr. Bob I haven't seen. I think the best way to show it is when it's like dinosaurs. You know, like the plot to the Super Mario Brothers movie. It's pretty much the same thing.
It's nice.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen this one.
(1916), right in the middle of World War I, and a British soldier is huddled in a trench, occasionally peeking over the top. He's supposed to be on watch, but there's little to see in the darkness that hangs over no man's land. But then, he spots something big. It's a shadowy figure, only about 20 feet away, and it looks like it's digging in the mud. It's
digging
too
from the
dark to
horse.
make out what he's looking at. So the soldier shoots a
This guy's
flare into the
face.
sky, lighting up the battlefield with a dull red light. Now he can see it clearly, and it's like nothing he's ever seen before. A huge, terrifying monster, picking up bodies out of the mud. The soldier can only stare, petrified by what he's seeing in front of him, when the creature suddenly turns to stare back at him, and smiles. Hi, I'm Dr. Bob, and this is SCP-3456, also known as the Orcadian Horseman. SCP-3456
So does he not? So
is the
his legs are the
designation
back of
given
the
to a group
horse?
of quadrupeds, of which the exact number that exists is unknown. These entities resemble horses.
So where are the
though
other
with
legs?
Some marked differences. SCP-3456s lack any hair, and their thick skin is translucent, revealing the fat and muscle underneath. They have three-toed hooves, and strangest of all, they have one or more human-shaped torsos fused to their backs. Each torso.
How do
has
you
a
know
pair
it's
of
not a
arms and
horse
head,
connected
but
to a
no
human?
legs, the torso seeming to meld directly
Those
into
are
the back
people
of
legs
the creature's
with
horse-like
hoofs.
body. The arms are much longer than those of a human, with a total wingspan that is double the anomaly's height.
How do we really
the
know?
arms are so long, they typically drag along the ground when the creature moves. At the end of each arm are 5 sharpened bones that
It's
protrude
like
from where
the
fingers would
liquor
normally be.
from RE2, or a hunter.
Instead of a nose, most instances of SCP-3456 have a hole in the middle of the face,
Does it
which is
beep?
capable of producing a high-pitched scream that is as loud as a jet engine. SCP-3456 instances vary in size, with the largest recorded manifestation
Watch out, this thing's got a
standing
jet
30
engine for a
meters
fucking
tall
nose.
and 15 meters long. Their bodies have
Just
also
makes
shown to be
Inception
quite
sounds.
resilient and are completely impervious to conventional weaponry. The anomalous creatures have displayed a high level of adaptive intelligence, using complex tactics like setting up ambushes through the use of property destruction and psychological manipulation to lure targets into traps. This high level of intelligence has led many at the Foundation to believe that SCP-3456 is sapient. Any direct observation of an SCP-3456 instance will cause the entity to become aware of its observer, at which point it will display this awareness by turning in the exact direction of the observer. Once an instance of SCP-3456
Yeah, what did they say it was 30 meters tall? And
it will engage
insane.
in predatory behavior, stalking its witness and pursuing them far beyond the initial site of manifestation, all the while concealing itself and using camouflage as it chases them.
One thing I don't like about some
SCP-3456
SCPs is it's just
will
like too
repeat this
unfair.
behavior over and over.
Like, does it have to turn
intentionally letting
invisible
itself be
too? Can it
seen
just
by
be
observers
scary?
over and over as it hunts down and takes each one.
They
until
all
it
can
has
turn
captured
invisible.
A large number of individuals and suddenly dematerializes. It's currently unknown where SCP-3456 takes its victims, or what happens to them once it dematerializes. Nor is it known how many victims
Well, yeah, I know what it is,
3456
but
needs to capture before it is satisfied and dematerializes
they all just like
for
seem,
good,
yeah, sometimes
as the
there's like
number
Super
taken has
Mary Sue
varied between
SCPs, like,
instances. It's not currently understood why, but SCP-3456 is either unwilling or unable to cross bodies of fresh water.
yeah, one-upping
And
each
making
other,
it
I
to the
guess.
other
That's,
side of a
that's a good
freshwater
point,
source,
actually.
like a river, lake, or even a stream, is the only currently known way to escape the anomaly once it begins its pursuit. Instances of SCP-3456 typically appear near sites of mass human suffering, such as battlefields and natural or man-made disasters. And there have been numerous reports and
The cannons are too close.
3456s at historical events throughout the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries.
Giant
with
tanks.
multiple manifestations often appearing at the same event. One Foundation report contains an account of an SCP-3456 instance appearing during the First World War at the Battle of the Somme. Rumors spread through the British troops in their trenches of the appearance of a mythical creature many believed to be the Nukkalavi, a horse-like demon with origins in Orcadian mythology. Like many SCPs, this ancient folktale turned out to have very
Interesting
real
name.
origins. British infantryman Dave Harkand kept a journal which described giant hoofprints appearing in the battlefield mud, and soldiers disappearing under mysterious circumstances, appearing to be killed
Bloody
by
hat.
forces even more terrifying than what the war could produce. Harkand describes one soldier who was firing on advancing Germans when the mud beneath his feet started boiling. Before anyone could react, mud went flying everywhere, and everyone was knocked off their feet. The soldier was
Damn.
gone, not even a body part remained, and Harkand was sure he saw bony protrusions reaching up out of the mud underneath the soldier just before he disappeared. Not long after, Harkand spotted the Orcadian horsemen on the battlefield, and the horsemen spotted Harkand. He watched as the instance of SCP-3456 picked bodies out of the mud and carried them off into the darkness. He took several shots
What did he
at the
do with
entity
them?
with his rifle, but the bullets had no effect.
Turned into a mist.
As days passed, the half-man, half-horse continued to appear night after night, always doing the same thing, picking up injured soldiers off the battlefield and taking them into the darkness. It would always look back at Harkand, seemingly taunting him or inviting him to try following it. Soon more instances of SCP-3456 appeared,
What else
many
did
with
they do?
more than one torso on their back. And then they began laying traps, burying themselves in the mud and waiting for the soldiers to rush over them. Dave Harkand was declared missing in action at the Battle of the Somme, and it's presumed he was taken by the same instance of SCP-3456.
They are kind of like Attack on Titan.
Another first-hand account of an encounter with SCP-3456 occurred following the 2011 earthquake and subsequent nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan. With over 2,500 missing persons, several manifestations of SCP-3456 were reported in the areas affected by the quake, and SCP Foundation reconnaissance teams were sent to investigate, 2 of which were quickly wiped out during the encounters with 3456s. One squad, after exploring the evacuated city and not finding anything, spotted an instance of SCP-3456 standing motionless in the middle of an intersection. As they laid eyes on the Orcadian horseman, the human torso that was hanging limp off the motionless horse's body stood upright.
Starts fucking windmilling,
damaging and destroying the buildings and structures around it. It then turned towards the team and emitted an ear-shatteringly loud shriek from the hole where its nose should be, before beginning its pursuit.
Jeez.
The team immediately began evacuation procedures, even ordering a drone strike in an attempt to slow down the chasing anomaly. The team took shelter in an abandoned high-rise building, but knew their only chance of escape was if they could make it over the nearest body of fresh water, which would mean crossing a bridge over the Arakawa River, which was a kilometer away.
A bridge
the team
too
was 50
far.
yards away from the bridge with no further signs of SCP-3456 when one emerged from a side street right next to them. Small arms fire was used against the creature, and 2 rocket-propelled grenades were fired at it, but all had no effect. A flashbang
his hand is
detonated
kind of like a
in the anomaly's
tyrant.
face bought enough time for some of the squad to make it across the bridge and escape. But 2 members of the team were carried away by SCP-3456.
They look so funny.
With the last image captured by one of the squad's helmet-mounted cams, being a shot of the Orcadian horseman
Wait.
smiling.
I thought it was in World
just
War I.
before it demanifested. SCP-3456 is currently uncontained, and due to its extremely dangerous nature and the lack of any containment procedures,
2011.
it has been designated Keter Class. Any personnel who observe the entity are to be treated with Class G amnestics, and their assigned treatment facility must be located within 1 kilometer of a body of fresh water. The Foundation has an ongoing project to attribute any historical references to SCP-3456 to myth, shell shock, hysteria, or PTSD, and any reports of loss of life or property damage involving the anomaly are to be replaced with explanations
Giant
that
meat
attribute
men?
the cause to
No.
other natural or man-made events. Regions where SCP-3456 is more likely to appear are to be closely monitored with personnel ready to assist in evacuation efforts. But above all else, direct observation of SCP-3456 must be avoided, since once that has happened, there's very little even the SCP Foundation can do to protect you. Now go and watch another
They
entry
said it
from
was
the
like
files of Dr. Bob, and be
30
sure to
feet tall at the
subscribe
beginning,
as
so
we
I guess that
delve
kind of
further and
implies the
further
head
into
would be the size of
SCP
cars.
Foundation's classified archives.
Although it didn't really look like it until it started grabbing things. Yeah, I've never heard of that one. That was kind of weird. I ain't never heard. 2 pretty best friends. Let's watch a little bit more Alex Kansas. Keep forgetting about this channel. So, what's that happen about this? I'm going to the Grand Canyon now. Interesting. Then I saw something really weird. The Grand Canyon is just a big belly button. The whole place smelling vinegar. This is monumental mythos. This isn't an SCP. What is it? What the fuck is it supposed to be? I don't understand. It's something on the wall? Oh, I see. Who was it? Oh! Oh, it's a giant face? What the fuck? That's sick. Yo, that person's huge. That's pretty cool. I think at least, like, look at the... Right? Is that like their shoulder? That's like a head? Is it the fucking Mount Rushmore? Did they take off? They ran to the Grand Canyon? That was a little too far back. Yeah, this is not a real video. It's not supposed to be like real. It's just like a fun project. The quality is, yeah, not good. That's the whole point. You know what it looks like? The fucking awesome guy. Wow, awesome. Oh, there's more to this, actually. Thought that was the end of it. Good tunes. Yeah, but this is not actually like supposed to be like someone's like random. I saw a ghost video. It's just like supposed to be like a fucking dumb series of weird shit happening. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, I get it. Doesn't even go to the actual next video. All right, I think the next one's about... What is this one about? Oh, about the buildings in DC again. Montgomery Mege. This is them trying to figure out the Statue of Liberty, apparently. What are the names of the, isn't it Gundam Freedom? And Gundam Seed? It's like Freedom V2 and 3. There's like 80 fucking thousand different versions. What the fuck is that?
5 aprile. Gli schizzi di Papino della Libertà sono stupendi. Lei assomiglia alla mamma se fosse una regina. Ho chiesto a Papino se potesse fare una statua che mi somigliasse. Ha detto sì. 10 aprile. Oggi Papino è andato al suo studio.
Is he gonna seal his family inside the statue?
Ha lavorato alla mia statua ed ha continuato a sorridermi. Io credo di sì. Papino è molto gentile. 13 aprile. Non abbiamo avuto notizie di papà per un po' di giorni. È già successo.
Just freedom and strike freedom.
Ho dovuto lavorare al suo studio per tanto tempo, ma la mamma oggi era molto preoccupata. È andata nel suo studio dopo avermi messo a letto. 15 aprile. Mamma è tornata a casa stanotte. È andata dritta verso la sua stanza. 16 aprile. Oggi è venuto l'ispettore. Ci ha chiesto di Papino e poi è andato nella stanza della mamma. Un paio di momenti dopo sono arrivati più uomini. Mamma stava piangendo. Continuava a gridare: lei ha i suoi occhi, lei ha i suoi occhi. Ero spaventata.
I mean, it would have been a recording from the 1800s, so it kind of makes sense.
E ricordo Papino dire alla mamma:
Actually, when did the Statue of Liberty get put up in
e l'ho trovata accorata là vicino.
in the Hudson?
Nella nave c'erano alcune scatole. Parti della libertà erano in ciascuna.
I guess it's not in the Hudson, really.
Mi sono intrufolata in una scatola che era vuota. Spero che venga mandata dove sta Papino. Sento il suo spirito vicino alla libertà.
Immediately, spring.
Sono molto affamata.
Bring
Le
up.
scatole sono legate con una corda.
70? 12?
C'è un forte rumore nella stanza, come dell'argilla trascinata per il pavimento. Posso sentire le corde che vengono tagliate e qualcosa di grosso uscire da una scatola. È Papino? Ci sono molti altri suoni, come legno che si rompe. Dato che le corde sono rotte, sono uscita in fretta dalla scatola ed ho trovato del pane e della frutta nella stanza accanto.
Construction started 75.
Non è Papino, ma i suoi
You're close. It's Jason.
24 aprile. Ho paura di entrare di nuovo nella scatola. Ieri ha fatto suoni più rumorosi. Mentre cercavo per del cibo, credo che mamma mi abbia
That's actually a little earlier than I would have thought.
posto per nascondersi.
I would have thought it would have been like during like a world fair or some dumb shit like that.
Con gli occhi di Papino. Ho paura che quella cosa o quell'uomo possano aprire la mia scatola. Non scriverò più molto, perché ho paura di fare...
They made it in France. I knew they made it there, then they brought it here. And just like set it up here.
La cosa con gli occhi di papà oggi mi ha preso. Mi ha tenuta mentre correva attraverso la giungla.
And they reassembled it. Pretty cool.
Non ho potuto vedere molto nel buio, ma ho potuto vedere gli occhi di papà fissarmi da quelle palpebre metalliche. Siamo scesi giù per un buco e in una grotta profonda. Dopo avermi messo a terra, ha acceso un fuoco colpendo le sue braccia contro delle pietre. Ormai è da ore che affila la sua spada con le rocce, ma non ho mai guardato la lama. Oggi, sin da quando ho iniziato a scrivere, la cosa con gli occhi di Papino ha fissato.
Yeah. Pretty much. Oh, and this is the actual boat trip. That's pretty cool.
19 aprile. 6 casse sono state caricate all'alba. Sono pesanti. Su quali esse contiene una parte di una grossa scultura. L'ispettore Montalbano mi ha detto che
Inspector Zafino.
ogni cassa è stata fissata.
The goddess of freedom. Each crate was fastened with ropes.
Lasciamo Livorno nel pomeriggio. Un gruppo di 5, 2 compagni, un cuoco e me stesso. 21 aprile. Siamo in ritardo. La nave più
I mean, honestly, Ghostbusters 2 kind of like lays the foundation for this idea. I feel like something about Ghostbusters 2 when they start piloting around the Statue of Liberty was like kind of weird when I was a kid. Like what? They just walk around into the water?
24 aprile. Il gruppo è teso.
Like a big statue walking around is scarier than anything else in Ghostbusters too. Let's be honest.
Buchi più grandi sono stati trovati nel ripostiglio. Le scatole erano nuovamente slegate. C'è molta acqua nella nave. Ci stiamo muovendo molto lentamente. Non ho nessuna spiegazione per il danno. 26 aprile.
Fucking ship
Pietro e
sink.
Tommaso hanno visto nuovamente lo sconosciuto. Un'altra ricerca che ci ha portato a nulla. Abbiamo trovato altri 3 buchi nel ripostiglio. Le casse sono state trovate nuovamente slegate. Abbiamo spostato le
They're not even out of the
per
Mediterranean
prevenire il
yet?
fondo dell'acqua. 27 aprile. A crepuscolo ho visto lo sconosciuto a bordo.
A stranger on board?
Nella cassa. È scappato appena mi ha visto. Non l'abbiamo trovato seppur cercandolo. 29 aprile.
Yeah, there's the
Notte
Straits of Gibraltar.
all'alba. La nave ci ha messo ore per approdare nel porto. C'erano molti buchi nel ripostiglio. Ciascuno di essi ha permesso ad enormi quantità d'acqua di entrare. Senza il catrame saremmo affondati in 3 giorni. Abbiamo aperto le casse per gli ufficiali della dogana. Le casse erano vuote.
Yeah, it's just a different angle. So they had to stop.
On the morning of April 29th, we received numerous reports regarding a tremendous force that
Dude, this voice.
which tore down hundreds of trees and created several landslides throughout the previous night.
It sounds like that robot in Return of the Jedi.
Likened the phenomena to the work of a gigantic crazy.
That's like branding the droids.
Due to the sheer number
And he's like, "You are a protocol droid, are you not?"
I deployed myself along with 13 officers to the rock in search of an explanation. We discovered that there was indeed a newly forged trail through the dense foliage stretching almost the entire height of the rock. The trail was astonishingly linear, with no bends in the path. The cuts to the trees themselves were precise. The downed trees continued to be warm to the touch, presumably due to the extreme speed of this force.
Oh no.
A few fires present along the trail were extinguished by fellow officers as we traversed the
Yeah, I agree. I like that too.
The path ended at a large crevice in the ground, which looked to be
Like it's a tutorial or like a documentary or something kind of about it.
After requesting additional men and equipment, Officer Hadley descended into the crevice.
The
It
fuck?
was not long until Hadley exclaimed in fright.
You can like everything. You can like them both. That's cool. Crazy dudes telling stories.
The majority of us were in the cabin.
The fuck?
Which appeared to be an undiscovered offshoot of Sir Michael's cave. In the middle of the location stood a plaster model of a tall Greco-Roman statue of a woman. Surrounding this sculpture were the splayed remains of an individual, flattened like a set of clothes.
Flattened by the statue?
Was stretched a quarter of the way up the statue.
Hmm.
The sight of which compelled a few of the officers to exit the cabin. The human remains were collected and sent to the morgue, while the sculpture was cleaned and lifted out. The statue's blade, held in its right hand, matched the cuts present on the downed trees. Despite the
statue's blade
implications of this detail, the Gibraltar police force officially concludes that the work of the crazed fella was nothing more than the result of heavy winds. During a secondary investigation, a journal was discovered in the cabin. A translation of its Italian text is in progress.
Looks like Halo Infinite getting like all 9s and 10s and 5s. I saw all the review numbers.
Arrives the tight-knit wooden ship.
Completely clear,
Absent.
perfectly
Instead, a
compressed
tall, wounded
voice.
woman sleeping in its vessel, donning a helmet wrapped in a robe, clutching a sword and a damaged shield. Overheard a conversation with the captain, a violent conflict with freedom at the port in Gibraltar. They tell me inside her is the blaster, and I walk away, silently believing freedom craved liberation so terribly she tried to take it for herself.
And Bird.
But off the ship, she was dragged away. Freedom locked up. Freedom in chains. They tell me I have to take it out of her. So hook, rope, peel, and pull. When it was done, Freedom stood motionless. Freedom stood still. I see the final bronze woman, and I feel as if, maybe even hope,
Freedom!
She's only dormant now, and will awaken again.
What? Fuck. Is one of those statues moving? I'm coming for you. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, next one. I just wanted to go to fucking Wendigoon for some reason. The Maze Movie Maker. It's Maze. Oh, yeah, it wasn't even the Statue of Liberty. It was the statue in the Capitol. Okay. Where are all those dots?
Members of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission want to know about the mandatory recall of all personal computers. Personal computers may pose a risk to American lives.
Recall of all personal computers.
Properly exposing your computer at a local hazardous tech collection center. Your safety is of the utmost importance to us.
Hand them over. Maze machines. President Dean establishes the Department of Technology, uniting all major American computer corporations and allocating billions of dollars towards technological advancements.
Now, this delegation pays him this ovation.
Oh yeah, James Dean is the president. Yeah, that James Dean. No, not the one that you're thinking of. The old James Dean. The Toodaloo. I thought this was going to be about corn. Felinelli requested I do an impression of Scooby-Doo. I didn't even see that. Scooby-Doo eats corn. You can't say corn as Scooby-Doo. Corn, you can't do it. There's just some words that just don't work as Scooby-Doo. Corn. I don't know, man. Corn. It doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like a fucking thing he would say. Hey, Shaggy, let's get some corn. Like, that's fucking weird. That doesn't make sense. Doesn't say the impressions are going to be good or any kind of effort going into it, all right? They're just impressions. Hello, Shaggy. It is I, Scooby-Doo. Let's go eat some corn. That sounded like Scooby-Doo to me. Do not visit these sites. They have not been fed in years. Liam Marvin. This one's, okay, that's a teaser. Oh, I see. The Suez Canal. This must have been topical. Well, I guess that's literally what this is. Monopoly fucking hotel gets stuck in someone's throat. That's what it looks like when I eat the Monopoly pieces. What my insides look like. For the last 2 weeks, the container ship Ever Given has obstructed the Suez Canal. With the passing hour, it's costing the global economy over $400 million. The request of the Egyptian president of the United States will end the crisis with nuclear force. Both Congress and the United Nations Security Council have approved the use of a small thermonuclear weapon on the Suez Canal, several miles from the Ever Given's location. The blast itself will not reach the ship. However, the waves generated are expected to dislodge the Ever Given. Good idea. Oh, okay. Whoop. A what machine? It's the Toodaloo fucking Twitter equivalent. It's fucking awesome. Love that. The Americans just released a monster. The crab monsters. They destroyed the Suez Canal and released a demon. Sick. It sounds like a sick movie. So is the ship alive or is there something underneath it? Suez Canal crab will not be destroyed. The crab cannot be eliminated without causing great damage to the Ever Given. In this day and age, the world is unprepared for the loss of cargo of such magnitude. Therefore, the Suez Canal crab will not be destroyed. At this time, no containers will be lifted from the ship. Since low-flying aircraft cause the organism to ambulate unsteadily, in hopes of returning the Ever Given back to the sea, efforts are underway to carefully manipulate the crab's route through Egypt. Through Egypt? Barricade 1. Gonna go through Cairo. Dr. Disturbing.
Hello. Okay, and then tell me, what do you think about the tower? It's your first visit here, so what do you think about the tower? I thought
Is it gonna get attacked by a kaiju? Giant crab?
It gave you a really good sense of how busy.
What about the people that were on the ship? Did they like
It was really great to
get off? Are they on there?
It's kind of difficult to do that when you're walking around down on the street. It's a breathtaking view, and it really gives you a terrific perspective of the whole city. And I loved it up there. I spent a couple of hours up on the top.
Giant enemy crab approaching. Oh no.
Due to evacuations around the Suez Canal, millions traveled to Cairo in search of housing. In response to this migration, many building capacity limits for popular attractions were inflated. The Cairo Tower, one of the tallest buildings in Egypt, had its own recommended capacity limit increased from 700 persons to 1,000. On the evening of April 16th, 2021,
Wow, so it almost happened in 420.
100 visitors toured the Cairo Tower at once. Although concerns of overcrowding had been raised by several staff members, the building manager dismissed their comments. Since the Suez Canal crab would be passing by later in the evening,
fuck.
he also encouraged visitors to enter the upper levels of the tower.
I don't know, this is
That
better than
would provide a
Cloverfield so
better
far.
vantage point. At 8 p.m., the Suez Canal crab was observed to have turned toward the Cairo Tower and proceeded to approach. Despite an alert sent out by the Egyptian government for civilians to immediately vacate structures in the crab's path, most visitors ignored the warning and stayed on the upper levels of the Cairo Tower as it came near. At 8:15 p.m., the Suez Canal crab was seen to have stumbled, and in an attempt to regain its balance, crashed into one side of the Cairo Tower, killing over 200 people. The resulting tremors that traversed the building damaged its staircases and elevator systems beyond repair. The cascade of shipping containers from the Ever Given, knocked forward by the momentum of the initial stumble, lasted for over 2 minutes.
So what's on the shipping containers? I wonder if that was so valuable.
Containers broke from their locks and pushed forward an additional 1,000 containers.
What?
As all 1,800 containers tumbled down through the building, the structural integrity of the Cairo Tower rapidly diminished. Falling debris and containers are reported to have killed over 800 visitors. At 8:19 p.m., the Cairo Tower fully collapsed, dragging the immobilized Suez Canal crab into the ground. In total, only 39 of the 1,189 visitors of the Cairo Tower survived. 2 of the 15 staff members escaped to safety, including the building manager. None of the 6 security guards survived. Although paramedics and police officers had arrived shortly before the Cairo Tower's collapse, the visibly unstable tower prompted them to collect survivors on the ground and retreat to a safe distance.
The fuck?
At 8:41 p.m., a hazardous waste collection team and soldiers of the Egyptian ground forces arrived to contain survivors within mobile quarantine chambers. Due to fears of a potential contagion contracted from the Suez Canal crab, all civilians in the vicinity were placed in quarantine under the authority of Egypt's military in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Upon impact with the ground, the Suez Canal crab and the Ever Given separated. The large wounds caused by the separation discharged thousands of gallons of seawater and bodily fluids. The hazardous waste collection team and soldiers attempted to plug the gushing lesions. However, survivors report that their efforts were mostly futile due to the team's inability to stay standing on the slippery ground. With the number of accidental falls among the troops on the increasingly wet ground, the Egyptian army diverted its focus from closing wounds on the Suez Canal crab to evacuation efforts. By midnight, the civilian population within a 3-mile radius of the fallen Cairo Tower had been completely evacuated.
Damn.
On the morning of April 17th, Egyptian authorities publicly announced that the Suez Canal crab had fallen in Cairo and laid in a vegetative state. Although the Cairo exclusion zone was primarily intended to prevent any media coverage of the crab and the surrounding destruction, several journalists managed to record footage of the site through the assistance of private helicopter pilots.
I wonder what it looked
By
like.
8 a.m., clips of the crab were trending on Twitter. Members of the Anti-Device Association
Are you kidding me?
attributed the severity of the disaster to the development of intelligent devices.
Is that what it looked like?
specifically Twitter machines. They reasoned that due to the popularity of Twitter in America, the Ever Given was overstocked with T-machines, which weighed the ship down and consequently caused the initial obstruction of the Suez Canal. On Twitter, the ADA released a vicious string of messages criticizing Twitter, Hillary Clinton, and Egypt. Along with images of the Suez Canal crab, photos of scattered goods that had fallen out of the shipping containers became a popular topic of discussion. One image of a sports car resting on top of debris would be retweeted by the ADA with the caption, "The Cairo exclusion zone is a conspiracy to keep goods in Egypt. The American people have been robbed." The tweet was shared by over 10 million users. Taking notice, the ADA followed up with tweets suggesting that an Egyptian soldier had driven home the sports car in the image, and that the goods needed to be rescued by their rightful owners. The ADA deemed April 19th as Finders Keepers Day and urged all Americans to travel to Egypt to obtain the goods left by the fallen Suez Canal crab. Overnight, an estimated 12,000 flights to Cairo were booked by American citizens. Although a few trespassers had been apprehended in the Cairo exclusion zone, officials did not foresee any further disruptions at the site. Medical personnel attended to survivors in the quarantine chambers. Soldiers cleared rubble and attempted to control the spread of the Suez Canal crab's bodily fluids. By 5 a.m. on April 19th,
Wonder what that-
approximately 20 million gallons had been contained through aerial
that
drops
fluid
of
was.
sawdust and an extensive effort to mop the premises. Although several officials discussed a plan to lay down military-grade mats to enable the hazardous material collection team to walk up to the crab for closer analysis, it was ultimately decided that no further action would be taken until the following evening, as it was believed that the midday sun would evaporate most of the fluid.
What is the fluid? Is it edible?
At 12 p.m., over 12,000 Americans gathered in front of the gated entrance of the Cairo exclusion zone. 4,000 Egyptian police officers and soldiers stood behind the perimeter to guard the exclusion zone from trespassers. At 12:03 p.m., violence erupted when an American shot a police officer in the face. Consequently, tear gas was used on the raging mob. Tanks and heat rays arrived shortly afterwards to deter any trespassers. However, by 12:10 p.m., the front entrance gates of the Cairo exclusion zone collapsed from the force of the charging crowd. Informed of the approaching Americans, medical personnel and survivors at the epicenter began to vacate the premises. By 12:43 p.m., the first Americans were seen by officials at the epicenter. Although the wet ground was expected to significantly slow their approach, several citizens had arrived earlier than anticipated since they had utilized car hubcaps to slide quickly across the ground. With no law enforcement at the scene, the American citizens began to collect fallen goods and pry open shipping containers. Popular goods included furniture, firearms, processed food, tea machines,
Twitter
bars of
machines,
gold, automobiles, and designer clothing. As Americans continued to arrive at the epicenter, more injuries from accidental falls were observed. Concussions and broken arms were the most common injuries during the initial break-in. At 1 p.m., several fights broke out over a Ford pickup truck that had rolled out from a container and crushed a family. 3 aggressors were shot by a man who had found a rifle. The conflict fueled an unpleasant atmosphere, with more instances of gun violence as time went on. One notable incident saw the discovery of a container of
Crab was
firearms
just
by a
full of
group young
guns.
children. The accidental firing of an automatic weapon by one child prompted the intervention of their parents and other adults. The resulting verbal argument escalated quickly and broke out into a full-scale gunfight with over 14 armed subjects, including the children. Another fight erupted after the discovery of a deluxe barbecue grill, which 13 Americans had simultaneously called dibs on when the item was pulled out of a shipping container. All 13 Americans died from gun-related wounds. When the last wave of the 12,000 Americans had entered the epicenter, overcrowding ensured that the accidental fall of one individual would trigger a continuous series of additional falls. Without any open space for the midday sunlight to reach the wet ground, the bodily fluid had no time to evaporate, and the number of falls steadily
They're just falling in it.
At around 1:30 p.m., one of the posterior legs of the Suez Canal crab twitched and incited panic in a nearby crowd. As Americans attempted to flee, many fell on the slippery ground and were trampled by those rushing behind them. By 1:33 p.m., the screams of the panicked crowd had reached a deafening volume, reportedly being heard over 5 miles away. Due to the reinforcement of the Cairo exclusion zone's gates and orders from the Ministry of Health to prevent any American citizen from leaving the exclusion zone, the massive crowds were kept inside the 3-mile radius of the epicenter, held in place by an orderly line of tanks that flanked the entirety of the zone's perimeter. The gates stood for over 6 hours as Americans ran from the epicenter. Many soldiers became ill at the sight of injuries caused by the thousands of bodies being crushed into the metal bars. By 7:15 p.m., everyone within a half-mile of the gate had perished from extreme pressure. Heat exhaustion, accidental falls, and gun violence were also major causes of death. The Cairo exclusion zone gates were opened at 8 p.m. Soldiers searched for the remaining survivors. Of the over 12,000 Americans who had arrived, only 944 survived. 77 of the American survivors were found kneeling around the Suez Canal crab and claimed to have been promised from a deity that they would survive if they prayed to the crab.
This is just the
none
next
of them
like
could
DC
account for the
movie, I'm pretty
remains of
sure.
Dead worshippers that littered the ground around them.
They would later establish the Church of the Ever Given during their stay at a local hospital. Howard Melrose, an American journalist permitted to visit the Cairo exclusion zone the day after the stampede, said of the site, "It looked like something from a medieval painting. All of their bodies were jammed into each other. Everyone became one."
It becomes a World Heritage Site because there's a giant dead crab there. Wonder how much like crab rangoon you can make out of that.